Hi, I'm Jack Fox, I'm one of the directors of Chaos Rising, and I also designed and created all the visual effects featured in the pitch video. We are blown away by the support and generosity of everybody that's contributed to our project, and so I've put together a little video giving you a peek behind the scenes at how we created the visual effects. Let's jump into it. I love old school movie effects. I like to say if it can be done practically, do it practically. However, we made the pitch video and test scene with no budget, which meant practical effects were out the question. CGI was the only option we had available, and I was able to create all the visual effects with assets and software I already had lying about. Thankfully, we have smashed our Kickstarter targets, and I'm happy to announce we'll be combining old school practical effects like blood, gore and fire with state-of-the-art CGI to create truly amazing sequences for Chaos Rising. The first big effects sequence is the Bretonnian fort establishing shot. This was actually an afterthought. We were really pressed for time on set and I didn't get a chance to get a wide shot of the fort, so I decided to create it digitally. It was really important to me that we established the setting and location in the first shot, and getting the two moons in there to cement it in the Warhammer universe was crucial. I created the sequence using Unreal Engine. I had already made a rough mock-up of the fort to previs the test scene, so it was just a case of adding in more detail and refining the design. I created some custom assets like the palisades and flags and built up the set to match the real location. For the shot design, I wanted the camera to start high up with the moon's centre frame, then crane down to reveal the fort and transition through the forest to the waiting marauders at the gates. We didn't have any on-set footage with that movement, so I had to take a static shot and add digital camera movement using a 3D character to mask the transition. One of the sneakiest effects is hidden at the end of the intro scene. Basically, we had a shot of the marauders entering the fort and the camera ending up on a close-up of the tattoo. However, in the edit, there wasn't a perfect run-through in a single take, and I needed to cut together the first part of take 1 with the end of take 2 and make it look like one shot. Luckily, I know movie magic, and I was able to hide the cut right here. As one of the soldiers walks past the camera, I tracked a mask around him and used him crossing the frame to transition seamlessly between takes. Seamlessly between takes. I used similar techniques throughout the pitch section to transition between scenes, like here and here, which brings us to the Trebuchet. So this was an interesting effect to create. One of the standout features from Duncaran Medieval Village is their full-size functional trebuchet, and of course we wanted to feature that thing in action in the pitch video. However, launching it on camera was just not possible, so we decided to use CGI, because we could. I modelled a rough version of the trebuchet using Blender, staying close to the original design. I wanted the trebuchet to function properly and be powered by a physics-based simulation rather than traditional keyframe animation. This was important to get a realistic motion and correct trajectory for the missile. It also allowed the fire and smoke simulation to respond accordingly. After rendering out the simulations in separate passes, I composited them into live-action footage using After Effects. Thankfully, I had the real trebuchet in shot to use as a reference to blend the 3D version with the footage. I reused the flaming missile simulation from a different angle for the overhead transition to Finn's segment. I also added in a few 3D arrows and an axe narrowly missing Finn's head in the scene because it looked cool. To continue the trend of the pitch givers being slaughtered, we needed something over the top for Finn. The guy is 7 foot tall and looks superhuman, so we decided to have him get crushed by a trebuchet missile. I built a 3D mock-up of the longhouse in Blender and fractured the roof into broken sections. Then I placed a weighted sphere way up above it and ran a physics simulation and the roof came crashing in. Then I just composited the render into live action footage and masked out Finn to make it look like he was crushed. So hopefully you found that interesting and it gave you a little bit of insight into what goes into making these projects. If you want to support Chaos Rising further, please consider donating to our Kickstarter, and thanks for watching.